Well, good morning, everybody. Here's some of the big highlights we're going to be watching over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start you off looking at the last weekend's worth of rainfall through 7 o'clock this morning or 6 a.m. this morning. We can see the severe weather outbreak that happened across parts of the Mid-South. Numerous tornadoes, a lot of damage here, and numerous fatalities because of this late season outbreak. Now, the heavy rains that did pull into parts of the Tennessee Valley and then up the East Coast, honestly, were very needed. This is an area that's been getting drier recently, and I'll show you that in just a few moments here. But outside of that, late on last week, we saw the snow moving through the northern plains, and we did get another big push of moisture coming into the parts of the Pacific Northwest. Now, much of the story this week, after we watch this system leave, is going to be coming out of a high over low pattern that's going to start down here in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado. And that's going to be the main event until we finally get this big, long Pacific jet extension. But just to quickly review what happened, I also want to show you that some of these supercell thunderstorms, in addition to the over 25 tornadoes, did produce a lot of very large hail. And they also produced quite a bit of lightning. We measured over 500,000 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes on Saturday through early Sunday morning. This same system was a part of the overall flow package coming from the Pacific that delivered some snow here into the Pacific Northwest as well. Now remember, this is an area that got a whole lot of snow, 30 to 40 inches in the Cascades, then several inches of rain, and then it was finished with snow on top of it. So that's a very interesting dynamic setup with the way the snowpack is building early this year, both in the northern Cascades here and in the northern Rockies. Note that some parts of the northern plains did pick up better than 6 inches of snow out of that system last week as well. Bigger picture, though, this is where we stand month to date on precip. Some places in the Pacific Northwest picking up over 15 inches of rainfall. We're talking about single-digit rankings here when you look back over the last 131 years. So one of the wettest starts to December on record. But what we're going to watch first this week will be another low coming out right here, part of a high over low setup that's going to take 4 to 5 days to move into parts of the southeast. And then this will become the target area as we approach Christmas and beyond. It'll be California. Now, my concern is with that being the setup, there's a large section of the country that misses out a lot of this precipitation. And it's going to be this area that over the last 6 weeks has seen some drought development here, also in parts of the Mid-South and back into the Western Plains. Those are areas that have gotten drier as of late. So we'll watch the upcoming pattern with the context of where drought has been developing lately. So again, this is a 6-week drought monitor change map. Okay, so today, a lot of the actions in New England, still winter storm warnings in parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, flood warnings along the coast. We've got really cold air in parts of the southeast, south, and over in California's Central Valley. And there's a weak front coming through parts of Montana delivering some snow. So the high-res models are showing us throughout the day today, there's that front as one system leaves. There'll be a little clipper that rolls through parts of Ontario, and you can see some of the snow that's going to be associated with it. But all eyes are going to go toward Wednesday, Thursday, right here as this high over low pattern takes shape. It looks something like this. Ready? So this is now Tuesday morning through Wednesday into Thursday. See the low trapped under the ridge to the north? Very mild north, very cold down here. And that's going to start off on Tuesday and take all the way, look at this, I'm out here to Sunday into Monday for that low to make it all the way to the southeast. That's going to be the mainstay of the flow. What's really being affected over the next 2 to 3 weeks is the deep and persistent low that is over Alaska. We see that around and after Christmas, this may be forced to move into the Gulf of Alaska and farther to the south, which is really going to affect the weather once we get out there basically toward or after Christmas. What's driving it has been the translation to the east of this very cold air across Russia. It's helping to extend this piece of the Pacific jet such that by the time we get to Christmas morning, notice we'll have jet stream level winds, maybe at times peaking over 200 miles an hour. They're going to go straight line from Hawaii's here, Japan, all the way over to the west coast of the United States. Now that's still more than 10 days away from now. So over the next 10 days, there's going to be a coastal low that tries to get closer and closer to California but doesn't make it. There's going to be this low here. That's really going to be the mainstay of our discussion for the next several days. Drier mid-south, drier interior, drier northwest, waiting on the Pacific jet to extend, and not a drop of, or not a hint of cold weather, really sustained cold weather in sight. So why this is important is this is our current root zone soil moisture map. The Mississippi's at 6.5 feet below low stage at Memphis still, and we have to get moisture in, and this is the kind of pattern that's not going to do it before we get to the end of the year. So I do want to show you one system. Watch right here with me in both the European, which is on the left, and the GFS on the left, European on the right. This is now getting into Wednesday right there. Now watch from Wednesday into Thursday and Friday, a slow-moving low, possibly adding quite a bit of moisture into this very dry region of the southern plains. And why we care so much about this is I'm worried that because of this peaking El Nino event we have right now, that this will be an area that come spring and summer is going to struggle for moisture, the southern plains. Not a good story there. But as we play this out to Saturday, Sunday, see the low just slowly moving across the southern part of the United States. That's really the only story we've got. There's pretty big model differences as we get into this weekend with the GFS taking the system north, the European leaving it to the south. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there is snow with it. We will have to be watching later this week for the chances in parts of Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas for picking up some decent snows, okay? From here, what about week 2? That will be when we start to watch the Pacific Jet extend, and that's going to be the mainstay of the story, I think, as we work our way up until Christmas. So we'll watch that carefully. But I want you to know that the pattern right now needs a real kick in the pants to get undone so we can get away from these deep Alaskan lows. You say, what does all that matter? Well, if that's going on there, we don't bring in highly amplified flow over the Rocky Mountains, which is why this area tends to stay drier through the beginning of January. We're wetter south. We're drier northwest, but wetter into California. There's a lot of backing of models backing up this pattern. The GFS does, the CFS V2 does, and this is the European. Okay, on to temperatures as we try to wrap this one up quickly here. Mild start to December so far. Now, it's not that there hasn't been cold mornings, and we've had them down here, but overall, the warmer days have balanced that out. And we're not really seeing much of a change in that. Watch these temperatures. Here's today's highs. Getting into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's the high over low. See the colder air supporting the snow here, but the much more mild conditions there. In other words, there's going to be parts of south central Texas that are going to be colder than Minnesota and South Dakota. That's going to be Thursday. Getting into Friday and Saturday and Sunday, the mild air just continues to flood in. And I can even take you all the way out there to the 5 days ending on Christmas night. And the colder air tries to move out of Russia, but there's no reason, given that Pacific Jet extension, for this to really drop cold air into the central part of North America. So we're going to wait probably till the new year before we talk about that. The last thing is South America. This problem of being very dry north and very wet south continues. Take a look at the new European model. Over the weekend, it trended to show over 90, probably 95% of Brazil's growing area with drier than normal conditions and very hot conditions building in here over the next 10 days. Temperatures going back up above 100. Meanwhile, Argentina's wet, and this is currently being supported by the GFS, almost an identical forecast in terms of where the precipitation min and maximums are going to be. So what will we be watching, is this. All of these models are trying to, for the last week of this year, bring moisture back north. And we have questions as to whether or not this can happen, given that the MJO is about to stall in phases 6 and 7. I'll be covering that all week. We go into this much more deeply in the in-depth video, plus I covered the review of both the NMME and the ECMWF longer range outlooks through spring and early summer, actually. So if you want to go watch that longer video, be sure to get a good chance to watch it, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks.